All right, we begin this challenge taking off on a boat, a beautiful island covered in palm trees.
There are thousands.
We can get more than enough water. All right, it's time to make some bedding. What we want to do is separate ourselves from the leaves that we're laying on and the bugs by creating basically a mat out of palm leaves. I'm going to show you a little bit after this how we're going to take these then and turn them into an incredibly comfortable sleeping pad. But to make this, basically I cut down a palm leaf, I faced the stems, or I split the stems in half, faced all the leaves in toward each other, and I'm basically weaving those leaves together in this cross pattern. It's really easy. You want to start at the base, and like everything in the basketry that I'm showing you, it's over, under, just repeat, repeat, repeat. And so what I'm going to do is just choose one leaf. The other leaves are crisscrossing it like this, and I'm just going to basically go under one leaf, over the next, under one, over the next, under one, over the next, repeat, repeat, repeat. You're going to get to the other side eventually, and at that point you can stop and just go back and start another leaf. We'll tuck it in really nice. It makes a really nice tight mat. You want to make sure you have palm leaves where the leaves are angled up, not coming straight out of the stem. But once we get this done, even though it takes a little bit of time, maybe an hour to run up an entire leaf, it is absolutely well worth it to keep you removed from the ground and the bugs and everything else. So we finished weaving these palm beddings, and instead of just laying on them, that's not going to be very comfortable in the treehouse. We need to make that really comfortable. So we've woven 4 of these. Azrael sewed up the middle with some sea hibiscus at the stem. We're going to take these leaves, pile them on top of one, fold the other over, and sew it up and create what's hopefully the first primitive sleeping pad. But after this, that treehouse is going to be incredible. World's first primitive sleeping pad. I think our treehouse is going to be very, very comfortable. All right, so one of the things I always tell people is a good chunk of your survival situation should be dedicated to exploring your location. You should never assume that where you set yourself down in your shelter is going to have the resources that you need. So I'm out exploring, and this has really paid off because I found one of Azrael's favorites. This is known as the stinky toe. Now, the reason it's called stinky toe is it does have a little bit of a smell to it, but when it's actually ripe and ready to eat, it actually tastes very sweet, like it has a hint of brown sugar to it. And so what I need to do, there's hundreds of these around just under the tree, is collect up a bunch, crack them open, find which ones are ripe, and hopefully at least half of these are going to be ripe. But really, really good survival food. So get to know stinky toe for island survival. Okay, so this one's perfect. And you can see it's just got this light brown powdery coating around the outside. And I can peel that off the seed like that. It's really good. So pop the whole thing in your mouth or just chew off the seed. It's really, really good, especially if you haven't eaten in a few days. Okay, what you got?
Okay, so on our way back, we found these beautiful hibiscus flowers, and I'm going to use them to make a tea for Thomas and I tonight.
All right, so we have so many coconuts. It's really easy to open them with a machete in 3 or 4 strikes. But what happens then is you're cutting the nut, the wooden part that you could easily use for a bowl. And so we want to have a bunch of nice clean bowls. And so I'm going to just open this one with a stick. It actually is almost easier than using a machete when you're trying to get that nutty wooden bowl out of the middle of this thing. And so the area where the stem attaches to the coconut, that has more husk at the top. The coconut sits closer to the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is jam one part of this coconut onto this spike and pry off as much of the husk as possible. Once it's jammed on, pry backwards and push down at the same time. Just put all your weight on it. bushcraft a big section. Go to the opposite side of the high point. Do it again. All right, not too bad. Opens up pretty quick. Once you start doing this a lot, you get pretty used to it, and it goes, you know, in a couple strikes. So right now I've got a full coconut I can hopefully turn into a really nice bowl, because as we're prepping more things, making coconut milk, it'd be really nice to have more cups to drink out of. And so what I'm gonna do is put it sideways so that the 3 holes are facing sideways, not up and down. And I'm gonna hit it on one of the lines that runs up and down on the coconut. Whew. All right, so I busted the top off, but at least I got one bottom bowl out of this. And at this point, I can take this meat and make a whole bunch of coconut milk. All right, so I've been coming out here every day a couple times, just checking everything from afar to see if my trap sprung, and I've not had anything. I changed out the coconut on the bottom because it was leaking, and look at that. It's all paid off. There it is. An iguana hanging from my trap. So I'm gonna go check it out. Hopefully he's dead. If not, I'm gonna go dispatch him real quick. Oh shit. I gotta dispatch him before he gets loose. He's wiggling there. Looking forward to this meal. Definitely starting to get hungry. But yeah, really grateful for this thing. So that's where we're at. Okay, I'm doing as gently as I can. It's a little difficult with a parang, but I just want to cut straight up the middle of the belly without puncturing any innards. All right, it's possible I didn't press record for some of that, but I pulled off the skin. Comes off pretty easy on any reptile. It's like a snake. They're real strong, so you can just kind of yank. But at this point, I've just got meat and bones. There's a lot of meat in the front arms, back legs, and in the base of the tail. So I'm gonna chuck this over the fire, and we'll have a great meal, and we'll see what we can do. But I got a great iguana skin that we'll make something out of. I noticed too that in the intestines, there's a ton of turtle eggs, which makes me feel a little bit better about taking this guy out, as we potentially saved a lot of turtles. Now with these turtle eggs, it's a temptation to try to cook them and eat them. I think I'm just gonna kind of bury them back in the ground and hope somehow that they end up turning back into turtles and not eat them for tonight. So tonight's gonna be noni leaves and iguana. All right, the iguana is on our spit, and we are just spit roasting this iguana, trying to slow cook it a little bit. But also make sure that it's well done. Anytime I'm making survival food, I always want to overcook it. So just never take any chances with bush meat. Here we go. Here's the back leg. There we go. All right. Here's our first bite of iguana on our trip.
Like,
God, welcome. Ah, it tastes pretty good. I mean, honestly, it tastes like chicken. I can never really describe things well, but it's like a pork, maybe. Yeah, not bad. It's got a good smoky flavor from the fire. Dang, I'll eat this all day. So, cool, great day today. We're gonna eat this, kick back, and catch you in the morning. All right, so I want to show you all the steps involved now in making coconut milk. When you're in a survival situation like this and you're eating so much coconut, it can get a little old. Like a lot of survival foods, after 3-4 days of eating the same thing, you need to mix it up a little bit. So by making coconut milk, you make something that's basically a calorie-loaded milkshake out of the coconuts. It's super easy to down and drink, and it tastes incredible. It's my favorite thing out here. And so I already showed you how to open a coconut with a stick. I'm just gonna show you real quick the strategy if you are gonna use a machete. Okay, first thing is the coconut, the nut part is actually at the bottom of the husk. So it's closer to this section here. So I'm actually gonna chop off the bottom part of this, and it's gonna get me access to that nut a lot quicker. A coconut has 3 ridges, 3 high spots. So what I do is take my machete, angle it in about 80% of the way down the coconut on the non-stem side. And I'll take one slice here, give it a turn, do another slice, and just kind of pry off the material. One more slice, like so. And you can see the nut right there, so all I need to do is do a clean shot, and you should start getting some water out of it. You can just basically drink it at that point. Always smell your coconut first. These can be rotten and smell like absolute hot garbage, so give it a smell. If it smells fine or like nothing, it's fine. All right. I'm gonna chop off the top of this thing. It smells great, tastes great. All right, and I've got a coconut. From here though, what I need to do is gather up and make coconut milk. So I'm gonna get a shell from the beach, just some scrapey shell. Just anything like this is fine. And what I can do is just sit around, have a conversation with Azrael, hang out, have fun, and just scrape coconut. Try to get as many really fine shavings as possible. I'm not looking after water. I want to actually scrape the meat out of this into a really fine shaving that I can then squeeze out and basically juice into coconut milk. All right, so once I've scraped using my shell, I've scraped a ton of the coconut shavings. Then you're gonna find a clean piece of coconut burlap. That's stuff that we've been using for tinder so far. What it is basically a woven net, a very fine netting, almost like a cheesecloth. And so that's super helpful for filtering things. You basically make a coffee filter for coconut. So I'll pull off some extraneous stuff here, and I've got a really nice piece of cloth there. I'm gonna put it over a coconut bowl that I have and just dump in all of the coconut shavings that I can. All right, now that I've got the coconut copra in here, I'm gonna squeeze it out through that net into a coconut bowl. So this is all a very easy process if you have coconut tree. All right, there we go. Absolutely pure, delicious coconut milk. All right, so I'm out in the jungle behind our beach, behind our camp, looking for some pieces for a lobster trap. I've been walking up and down the beach, finding all sorts of lobster parts. And that definitely tells me they're out there hiding in the rocks somewhere. They generally come out at night. So what I could do is hopefully today bust this thing out, put some fish bits in it, and hopefully they'll come in and start getting it by morning. It'd be amazing if I was collecting this. If we could make a little lobster bisque with coconut milk, that would really be probably the best meal in survival you could ever have. So just kind of wander around the jungle, find the right pieces for this trap, and then I'll show you how to put it together real quick. Okay, for the lobster trap, I built a rectangular base to it, tied it together with some cross pieces, and now I've got these flexible saplings where I can bend them slowly and insert them into this framework, adjust for height by just burying them in the sand, and then I'm going to tie all this down. On top of that, I've split out some bamboo slats. These are going to go just every inch or so, basically making a cage for the lobster. There's going to be a small funnel doorway for the entryway, so hopefully the lobster can get in but can't get out. Added to that, I'm going to wrap a fish head in some burlap, tie it down to the bottom with some heavy rocks to hold it down, hopefully tie it to the reef at a low tide, chuck it out there, and hopefully by morning we've got lobster. All right, so looking pretty good. It's actually very sturdy. I'm not finished. I still got to put the floor in. I got to split out some more slats. put on the back wall, make the funnel entryway so the lobster can climb in. It's going to be about a square entryway this big, I think, to make sure to fit. Some of these lobsters are big out there. But with all the body parts I've been finding washing up on the beach, I actually feel fairly confident this is going to work. I only have a limited amount of time, but really, really hoping we can pull this off and have a nice lobster bisque and coconut milk. Would be absolutely amazing. The great thing about this is if it works, it can just keep working over and over and over. We just keep throwing a fish head in there and hopefully it just keeps delivering us lobster. But amazing night. I think at this point we're just going to kick back, make a fire, sit around and finish this trap up. So really good day in the books. It's just been amazing out here. So yeah, keep crafting and we'll see you in the morning. After a late night mission to put out the lobster trap, we were fortunate enough to catch a glimpse of this sea turtle laying eggs on the beach. All right, looking at the phone, I look pretty rugged. So walking around right now, it's definitely time to eat. Time to really start concentrating entirely on food. And just walking down the beach, gonna go for a swim, and found this guy here. This is a bit of a puffer fish. It's just kind of desiccated out here on the top of the high tide line. But if you look closely, there's these barbs inside of it. Really, really good. I'm definitely going to be able to make some sort of fish hook out of this. I was going to craft this on the end of a stick or something like that and see what kind of fish hook I can make, because this is sharper than anything else I can get by filing down any bone. So yeah, I'm going to use puffer fish to go catch a fish. So fingers crossed. All right, checking the lobster trap. It's only been out for 12 hours, so. Nope. Nada. All right, so I've got my palm leaves, I've got my fish hook. It's time to get out and fish. The one thing I'm struggling with is the sun. We always talk about shelter being number one thing in a survival situation, that you want to, fix the problem of being exposed to the elements. Well, when you're out on the reef out here on the rocks fishing all day, you're getting beat down on. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the steps of how to put together a sombrero. It's an incredible skill to have and it's fairly easy to learn. Okay, so I've got my leaf measured out. So this is the length of my head if I make it go around in a circle. I've left a few inches of wood at both ends after the last leaf, so that when I make a circle out of this, it's going to overlap. Now what I'm going to do is trim out all the wood on the inside so it's nice and even and it bends in a circle. Now once I've matched these up, I'm going to tie these two overlapping pieces together. What I need to do at this point is to weave all of these leaves together in a sombrero around the rim. And so I'll walk you through those steps. It's a lot of repetition, just over, under, but I'll show you real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take any leaf, whichever one you like, and I'm going to keep it folded in half. I don't want to open it up. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to go under the leaf to its clockwise direction because it's going in a clockwise direction naturally. I'm going to go under, I'm going to go over the next one, under the next one, over the next one, and that's 4. So under, over, and then I'm going to take that leaf and I'm just going to pull it up through the center of the hat. Next thing I'm going to do is get the next leaf. It's going to continue going clockwise, so it's going to go under the next one, over, under, over, and again, after it goes over that, it's going to come up through the middle, and that just kind of holds it in place. I'm going to keep going around in this pattern over and over and over. This whole thing is a repeat of that pattern. What I can do now is just individually pull the leaves, make sure that I fill in all the gaps as I pull. So I'll just grab a leaf like this and snug it up, making the hat kind of pull so that everything's nice and even. I want to make sure that it lays flat. If I pull too tight, it kind of curls up and this all moves downward. So I want to make sure it's flat the entire time. I'm just going to kind of snug this thing up so that it's perfect. Then we'll take these leaves and we can just kind of weave them towards the outside. All right, so my hat is done. Is it perfect? Yeah, I really like it. Fits really well. I wove around the inside here to just kind of make it nice and smooth, but you know, not too many gaps and a lot of sun protection on the outside. So feels super comfortable when I put it on. Looks cool, which is what matters out here. So now it's time to get out to the reef. It's time to just spend hours and hours every day fishing. With a normal fishing line and a fish hook that would go quickly. With a bone fish hook, I need to put in my time and dedication and just start, you know, chucking the line out there. So I'm gonna be in the baking sun for a lot, and this is really gonna come in handy as an awesome sombrero. So let's go fish. I got out on that reef and tried my new line and hook with limpets for bait. I can't convey how much time I stood out on these rocks, trying and getting a lot of near hits, but not getting the fish to commit to biting the entire hook. All right, I've gone from reef to rocks to the shore. I've tried high tide, low tide, and while it's been a lot of work, it's still been incredible. But this is definitely taking up a lot of time. I've been obsessed and yet nothing seemed to be working until I learned a new trick. Apparently, in her research, Azrael read that pelicans don't initially scoop the sardines when they dive bomb them. They're only diving to stun them, and then they land and scoop them off the top of the water. So I came up with a theory that if I could scare away the pelicans at the right moment, those sardines would still be sitting at the top of the water waiting to be scooped up. All right, thanks to the pelicans, we got our bait. So we're gonna upgrade from these little minnows as bait by chasing the pelicans and the cormorants around. He was able to scoop up what they were going after on the fish that they stunned. So hopefully transform this into a whole much bigger fish. This was just the secret I needed, and now I had a new bait. Got it. Nice. Woo! Another grouper! Woo! All right, 2 grouper. Woo! All right, so we had a good day. 2, not just 1, but 2 grouper. After all of that of fishing over on the rocks over here, finally tried this spot and I'm hitting really good. It's almost exactly high tide about an hour ago when I caught these, haven't got one since. So I'm definitely getting out here tomorrow at high tide, same bait, same everything. Just fishing off this little cliff here. So yeah, I couldn't be happier. Can't wait to show Azrael, cook these up and have another great dinner. All right. Oh, I am sunburned and definitely beat on by the sun, and I'm not sad to see it go. But it's a beautiful sunset tonight, and we are eating almond leaf wrapped grouper. The almond leaves around here are so tough, they act like an aluminum foil. And so what we did is we place them on there, wrap them up in the almond leaves, tie it up with sea hibiscus, and then we put it right in the coals. It's about 10 minutes per side, and then we flip them, pull them out, and they're ready to go. These look absolutely perfect. So we each have one. One of Azrael's favorite is grouper. We've got little chopsticks here, and we're dipping it into a coconut full of coconut milk. So absolutely incredible meal. Not bad for me.
Oh, it's amazing.
Nice. You're not the only good cook around here. As we kicked back, ate our dinner, and watched the sunset turn into every possible shade of red, I couldn't help but think that life should always be like this. It seemed crazy to think that at the same time there are millions of people in cities around the world stressed about material things. That reality seemed worlds away. As our trip wound down, we stopped filming as much. The last day was met with some great successes and disappointing failures. After all that work, the current grabbed the lobster trap and smashed it into a few pieces. Nevertheless, we honestly don't want to leave. I have so many unfinished products, from clay pottery to a saltwater distiller, a bamboo fish bow, and more time to get lobster. Unfortunately, we ran out of time and our boat's on its way. Thank you for joining us on this adventure. Please share this with everyone you know. The more support we get, the more content we could put out like this. Up next, we're off to a remote island in the Pacific Northwest. Then, possibly the Amazon. If you're interested in an island survival excursion with us, or a Canadian survival trip, please contact me at wildsurvivalskills.com. And you can find Azrael at Azrael Renee on Instagram. Thank you again.